in the month of May. The month of May, the theme is walking by faith. So we're talking about faith. Today, our topic is faith, not sight. Faith, not sight. So 2 Corinthians 5:7, we know this one. The Apostle Paul informs us that we walk by faith, not by sight. That's what believers do. We walk by faith, not by sight. And so the statement implies that those two things are at odds. So walking by faith, walking by sight are not complementary ideas. They're actually, they're at odds. They're kind of opposites. And so what that means practically, and I know it's a verse we're familiar with, so we just kind of throw it around. Yeah, you walk by faith, not by sight. What that means practically is that we live in total trust in God. That's how we live life. And it also means at the same time, we can't see. We don't know. We don't know what is going to happen. We don't have the answers. We're unable to see. We're unable to fully understand or know. And also, we're unable to control, which might be the worst part of this whole situation. We're not in the driver's seat. So if I'm honest, which I always am to a fault, I happen to be a complete and total control freak. And I love being in control. And I get very uncomfortable when I'm not. And you add to that the fact that I also carry a lot of serious trust issues. I don't trust well. So I'm like the worst candidate for this faith idea ever. If I was the test market, if I was like the person doing the case study, like, is faith a good idea? The answer with me would be completely, absolutely not. It's the worst. Some people spend a lot of time trying to figure out everything. And they live in their heads, and they're always walking through every possible scenario, and they like coming up with contingency plans. They like having all the answers. Maybe you're like this, your personality, or you've been around people like this. You could just say, hey, you want to get together tomorrow? And that person's like, what time, where, how long, what do I wear, who else is gonna be there, what is the type of food, do they have gluten-free options, my wife, what is the deal? And so we like having all the information. It's something that is kind of ingrained in us as human beings. And so we try to resist and avoid any discomfort, any challenges, and any difficulty at all possible. And so this approach towards life can be, and usually is, exhausting. It eventually gets to be exhausting, especially trying to come up with every possible scenario when you face a potential problem and you're trying to come up with all these imaginary solutions for a problem that hasn't even happened yet. It just mentally, emotionally, it gets exhausting. It's actually a pressure that we're never meant to carry. That's why it's so tiresome. A life lived walking by faith and not sight sounds scary. It is scary, but that's where freedom is. There's freedom in it. There is freedom from the exhaustion. There's freedom from the pressure. There's freedom from the anxiety and the worry. I heard a quote one time that said, worrying about something that may happen is like paying interest on something that you'll never own. You're always paying the price for something that may or may not even come true. So living life by faith and not sight is the way that we're designed. It's how we're built. It's how we're meant to live. It's the way that God designed us to live from the inside out. Romans 10 says, with the heart a person believes, and then Proverbs 4:23 says, we're supposed to guard our hearts because that's where the wellspring of life is. Our life comes from that place, a place of faith. Paul reiterates this approach towards life, walking by faith as opposed to walking by sight, in his letter to the church in Colossae. And I'll close with this. It's a beautiful couple verses, Colossians 2:6-7. He says this, as you received Christ, Jesus the Lord, walk in him, having been firmly rooted and now being built up in him and established in your faith, just as you were instructed, in overflowing with gratitude. As you receive Jesus, how do we receive Jesus? We're saved by grace through faith. We receive Christ by faith. We connect to Jesus by faith. And so as you, in the same way that you receive Jesus by faith, walk in Jesus by faith. You never stop the faith thing. And you've been firmly rooted in him. How are we firmly rooted in him? By faith. The roots of our faith are embedded into the soil of his love and his finished work. And you're being built up in him and established in your faith. As that is our life, this is the result. We're overflowing with gratitude. Thanksgiving shows up. We're grateful. If I were the one in the driver's seat, gratitude would not be the result of what I do. Pride would be. If I'm the one in control, I'm not grateful to God. I'm grateful to me. And look what I have done. Look what I've accomplished. The other day, I had a problem arise, and it really stressed me out. And the only reason it was a problem that has not happened yet, that's going to happen, that is inevitable, that is coming before me. And the only reason I knew about it and that I can do anything about it is because God made it this miraculous way, made me aware of it, and so I can create a contingency plan and have some conversations before the problem arises. And so I'm so focused on the fact that there's a problem, the last thing that I consider is, God, you actually have already worked this out. You've already done something. You've already done something with it. You've already brought solution to it. And that's the last place I look. So I'm praying, I'm like, God, I'm sorry that that's the last thing that I even look at or consider. I'm so caught up with the issue. And then all of a sudden, gratitude. I'm like, God, you're faithful, even though I have no clue and I'm completely without sight. Jesus is the author and the perfecter of our faith, and he promises to work everything out for our good. Even if we don't have a clue what that looks like, he is faithful.